It's now our great pleasure to welcome Doug Conant, one of the most trusted, admired business leaders in this country and in the world, and a tremendous thought leader. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you. I had to unmute myself there. I apologize.
That's tremendous. Doug, we're so pleased you're here. You've brought such insight through your experience in leading Campbell Soup Company and other companies as well. We'd like to start off by just giving you some time, perhaps 15 minutes or so, to share your key insights about trust and leadership that you've learned that you'd like to share with these students. And then we'll open up in a roundtable between the four of us in exploring deeper some of our questions.
Sure, piece of cake. Boy, Stephen M.R., you're a tough act to follow. I'll do my best. But you all, it's a delight to be with you, and it's a delight to be sharing this conversation with Boyd and Stephen M.R. and Lord Hastings. We go back to SIFE, Enactus. I think I also worked with you at CECP, I believe. Yeah. You're everywhere, man. But at any rate, it's great to be with you all. You know, it's pretty pathetic, actually, but wherever I go, I end up quoting Stephen M.R., and I can't do it with your group because he already talked. So I've got to come up with new material. I do talk about the notion of trust, and it is central to what I believe in. And what I believe in is that, you know, building on a comment that just came up, you know, this notion of changing the world. Before you can change the world, Bill George, another mutual friend of ours, said, before you can change the world, you have to change yourself. I don't necessarily buy that. I think you don't want to change yourself, but before you can change the world, you have to become the best version of yourself. And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about changing you into someone else. We're talking all about helping you become the person that you really are. This is not about a journey to be more like Doug Conant or Stephen M.R., or Lord Hastings or Boyd Craig. Although that would be helpful, but this is all about becoming yourself. You know, another mentor of mine, Warren Bennis, said, becoming a leader or a high trust, I'll say high trust leader, is synonymous with becoming yourself. It is precisely that simple, and it is also that difficult. And so we are in a tricky situation here because we're operating in a world that's asking us to be one way, while our inner sense of what's right is taking us in a modestly different direction. And it seems like when you're in an organization, in a company or a nonprofit organization or an academic institution, all of which I've worked in, it's easy to lose your way because you're getting all these cues that are saying, no, you've got to be more this way or that way. I'm going to give you one more quote, which was my favorite quote of 2020. I used it when I launched my latest book, The Blueprint, quite a bit. And it's from someone most of you have heard of, Brene Brown, down in Texas. I don't know, they all come from Texas, Stephen M.R., or Utah. Brene said, you know, you can either walk inside your story and own it, or you can stand outside of your story and hustle for your worthiness every day. And I've got to tell you, through my life, first of all, I was trying to walk inside my parents' story for me. Then I was trying to walk inside my teacher's story for me and my coach's story for me. And then I went on to graduate business school and I was trying to walk inside of my professor's story for me. And then I went to work and I tried to walk inside my boss's story for me. And I was hustling for my worthiness every day because I wasn't being me. There were elements of me that were captured in there, but I wasn't being me. What Stephen M.R. is talking about, what Boyd and Lord Hastings are steering you towards, is this process of becoming yourself. And Stephen M.R.'s father championed this notion of authenticity. And then Bill George wrote the book on it. But it's about how can I show up and be myself in a way that is highly effective and also fulfilling. It always feels like you're juggling. The first step in this is being in touch with the leader you want to be and how you want to show up. And I commend the notion that you have to trust yourself before you can trust anyone else. How can you trust yourself if you haven't done the work to know yourself? And so where I start in this concept of trust is in my book, The Blueprint, which we have to get copies for you guys, Boyd. Just let's put that on the list of things I want to make available to you. You have to have a sense of, what do I want to accomplish with my life? And whatever you write down will be wrong. So just know that, but you have to start somewhere. And then there's a process of reflection and study that can guide you to a place where you begin to feel as if you know yourself well. And only then can you start to begin to trust yourself, if you've really done the heavy lifting of working at it. Like anything else, all of us have accomplished something in our careers. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been eligible to be in this program or in this school. We had to work at it. But interestingly, we're sort of leading our lives by the seat of our pants. If you want whatever you wanted to be good at, an athletic endeavor, a line of study, you had to invest in it and work at it and reflect and learn from it. And so this notion, as we get into leadership, is about being able to trust yourself to a point at which you're going to have the courage to trust others. Maya Angelou talks about the concept of courage as it's the one trait that she calls it the single most important trait in a person. It's the one trait that enables you to be consistent with all other traits that you aspire to have. Because absent courage, you won't have the courage of your convictions to stand up and be counted on any other practice, any other trait. So to have courage, you need to be anchored in the courage of your convictions. To have convictions, you have to do a little work. And all the work Stephen talked about, those roots in that tree are mission critical, guys. You don't have the roots, you don't get the fruits. You've got to invest in understanding yourself one level deeper than you do today. You don't have to go join a monastery and study yourself for the rest of your life, but you have to be one level more insightful and understanding of yourself than you were yesterday. You can do this. We've seen plenty of people do it. So the notion of trust for me is trust yourself first, invest in yourself, reflect and study, do it in a practiced way. You can do it with 7 Habits. That's where I started 1,000 years ago, where I met Stephen M.R.'s father, and before I met Boyd. And 7 Habits starts to help you get grounded in who you are and what you want to accomplish in your life. That's where I would start in terms of building trust. The other thing I would touch on here is that as you know yourself and as you come to appreciate the person you want to be in any community, know that you will never, I believe, you will never find the perfect fit. The perfect fit. Think of it in terms of the Venn diagrams we used in school, right? I have a circle that's that represents my values and how I want to walk in the world. And then I'm going into a community, in a company or an academic institution or a nonprofit or in service to our government. And they have an expectation of how I'm going to walk in their world. There is never a perfect overlap here. There are always expectations everywhere I've been that have tried to pull me in a direction in which I was uncomfortable. Where I have prospered is by focusing on the things that are important to me and are important to the organization. And those two things they're always the same. It's people and performance. your job when you go in is to in any community is to be a contributing part of that community and help the community prosper, you know. And so it is about connecting with people and helping the community prosper. And I went into you read about, I believe that you read the story that actually Boyd helped me with 1,000 years ago about my entry into RJR Nabisco, KKR, world's largest LBO. Everybody, people doubted my capacity to lead change, and it just wore me out. But it also challenged me to get incredibly anchored in who I wanted to be and how I wanted to walk in the world, and then to find a way to navigate it in a culture that was not friendly. I did find that even in that most challenging culture, the culture valued people and performance. And so I just focused on delivering and helping attract, develop, retain, and leverage people, and then delivering performance that I viewed as performance that could be enduring. It's worked for me everywhere I've been. I haven't found a place yet where I have gone into a culture that's so untenable that I couldn't make a difference and couldn't do it in a way that was fulfilling. But it's because I've worked hard to be anchored in where I am. And it's because I have always approached this with a belief that growth and contribution is possible. It starts with trust, and Stephen M.R. said it. I quote it all the time. I claim it's the best subtitle in the history of literature, and the one thing that changes everything. I believe in it. I have a leadership model. If you go to the Conant Leadership website, I have my own leadership model there, and it sort of guides me in all my leadership endeavors. And at the center of it, it has an axle in 3 parts. At the center of the axle is the principle of honoring people, and wrapped right around it is the commitment to inspire trust. And I do that. I focus on character and competence, and I focus on it every day in every way I can. And I've got to tell you, it enables everything else to unfold for me in a way that I can work with it. The third part of the axle is also important too. So I have honor people, I have inspire trust. The third piece is clarify higher purpose. And I think that's particularly important today, because we get trapped in the thick and thin things of what's happening today, and we lose sight of what matters most. And that's our higher purpose. Why are we here? What are we trying to do? And I have found that if I am always connected to the higher purpose for myself and the institution I'm working for, or the team I'm working with, if I focus on the higher purpose, I inspire trust, I honor people, I have found that all things are possible. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I am happy to get into some conversation on this now. I could talk, between Stephen M.R. and I know Lord Hastings can talk. I've heard him talk before. Boyd he has capacity, but Stephen M.R. and Lord Hastings and I can talk for a long time. We could fill up your day, but I'm going to stop now and let's get into conversation.
Thank you, Doug. I'll start with the first question. You've distinguished yourself in many ways, including 2 extraordinary practices in your leadership. One is declaring yourself, which Stephen M.R. talked about, when you come into a new situation or have a new working relationship with someone. And the second is writing personal notes to people. Yeah. Would you share your stories with those and how they made a difference in the tough situations you faced?
I think that the concept that you're touching on is of utmost importance, because all the stuff we talk about, most of the stuff I talk about is conceptual. But the challenge is, how do you bring it to life in the real world? How do you communicate what you believe and how you show up?
Mm.
And it's great that I have my mission statement on my desk in my office. It's great that I have all these wonderful beliefs that I've written about, but how am I showing up with people? Those are two practices I have. I remember when I did I had my 7 habits out in Sundance, my coaching with actually Stephen M.R.'s father. He actually sat down and went through my first pass at my mission statement and said, well, that's good. I want you, when you go back, I want you to review it with your wife and have her comment on it so you can really get in the process of living it. And I said, well, it's not quite ready yet. I'm going to work on it. And when it's ready, I'm going to share it with her. Well, I went back the next year to Sundance, a year later. And he said, well, what did your wife think? And I said, well, it's not quite ready yet. I haven't shared it with her. And he said, Doug, until you share it with her, you haven't brought it to life. You haven't brought it to life. And that was eye-opening to me. So I shared it with her, and I found the power of declaring myself with my wife, a woman who knows me incredibly well now for 42 years. We were less than 10 years married when I was talking to Stephen M.R.'s father. And it opened up a whole new conversation for us and took our relationship to a deeper level, the person I was married to. So I started thinking, well, how can I declare myself in ways that work for me? And by the way, I'm also an introvert. So I started these two practices. In the first hour of the first day I work with someone, I share with them an orientation thing that I'll do where I declare myself. I tell them where I'm coming from, what I believe in. It can be overwhelming. I tell them the goal of this session and the next one, which we'll talk about in a minute, is the goal of taking the mystery out of our relationship, because we've all worked with people that it seems to take forever to understand what they really want. And I say, well, we can move past that. Let's just get it over with. So in the first hour of the first day, we sit down and talk about it. I have another one of these in a new position I've just taken on Monday morning with someone, a CEO that I'm now chair of that organization. So I go through all that, and at the end, I say, now you know everything there is to know about me. If I do what I say I'm going to do, you can trust me. If I don't, you can't, but you'll know that. Otherwise, you're just going to be guessing. We can take the mystery out of this. And then I invite them to come back and share with me the same thing. And I've been very vulnerable in this session, which shocks people. But what it does is it invites them back. And most people come back and go through their version of declaring themselves with me on their timetable when they're ready. There's no rush to it. And I'm telling you, it changes our relationship. I don't even know. It's 3x what it would have been otherwise. So that's the process of declaring yourself. The process of notes is sort of like declaring yourself. It's an action I take to build trust and to build respect. My observation is in companies, we're built to be critical thinkers and we find what's wrong. That's what we do in virtually every company. And I can find what's wrong on a spreadsheet or that's sort of what I challenge to do. But even in the most broken companies, when I went into KKR after the world's largest LBO or Campbell Soup or Avon, even those companies, 8 out of 10 things in those companies are being done right. But nobody's acknowledging it. Nobody's acknowledging it. They're just focusing on the things that are being done wrong. I said, well, I've got to bring a little balance here. I'm going to celebrate what's right every day, as well as continue to find what's wrong. So I had a practice. I said, how can I bring this to life so people know I'm committed to acknowledging them and building trust? Oh, and by the way, I tell them in that first hour, first day, I tell them, here's how my leadership model, honoring people, inspiring trust, clarify. This is me. And if I don't behave this way, and if I don't act this way, you shouldn't trust me. So people have heard this when I join a company. I look every day at Campbell. I had a long drive to work. I had a driver, but I was in the car almost 5 hours a day, 2.5 hours each way. And on the way home, I would have a pile of everything that had gone on in the company that day. We didn't have the world's greatest technology at the time, so I was dealing with a lot of paper. But my office gave me everything. I read it all on the way home. On the way in the next morning, I would write thank you notes to people, commending them on something they did that week that added value to our company. It could have been sponsoring an event, community event. It could have been delivering great numbers or making a great sale or getting a production line up faster than anticipated, whatever. And I would do 10 to 20 notes a day. I had small note cards, so I didn't get too carried away. Otherwise, I'd run out of time. But and I did 10 to 20 a day. When I retired, I became ultimately known for this writing thank you notes. When I retired, Forbes was interviewing me, and they said, "We've heard you write thank you notes. How many notes have you written?" I said, "I don't know. But I write 10 to 20 a day, and I do it 6 days a week, and I've done it for 10 years." So sitting there on a calculator, we did the math, and we found that I had written 30,000 notes to employees of Campbell over those 10 years. We only had 20,000 employees in the world. Everybody had received a note from me, and everybody had it tacked up in their cubicle somewhere. To this day, I get notes on LinkedIn about, "I still have my note from you." And I retired from Campbell 10 years ago. So what it did was, using other Covey language, it helped build the emotional bank account with the organization to a level that we built trust, that people knew I was paying attention to what they were doing. We also sent those responses to them. They were all handwritten, and they were sent the same day I learned of the accomplishment. Same day. And if it was done in Australia, I FedExed it to Australia with that note. And if it was something particularly noteworthy, I FedExed it to their home in Australia. So when they opened it, they would share it with their family. This is, I wrote a whole book on this with Meta Norgard, who everyone on here knows, Boyd and Stephen Elmar. I believe Lord Hastings knows it. I wrote a book on this. These small things make profound differences. Touch points, we called it. And so I highly commend finding a practice that brings together your core belief. In my case, it's honoring people, inspiring trust. Those are the two things that give me energy every day. And then find a way to bring it to life with the people with whom you live and work. I mean, you can have the intention, but find a way to bring it to life so they know it and they see it, and you're doing it every day. I tell you, I got to the point, and many of you guys probably have gotten into exercise routines where you actually hit stride with it, and then you feel guilty if you haven't done it for a day. That's the way I felt with these notes. And to this day, I'm still acknowledging people who are making contributions of significance all around the world. And so I commend finding practices that bring your best intentions to life, that are helping you become the best version of yourself and helping you trust yourself to be a better leader. That's the notion. I'm sorry, I got on my soapbox again. I'm as bad as Stephen M.R.
Thank you so much, Doug. Inspiring. Professor Hastings and Stephen, would you each like to ask a question in our remaining time?
Well, let me make a comment first, if I may, Doug, and then a question to follow that, which is just picking up on what you said about revealing yourself to build trust. And it's something that Professor Craig and I have talked about a number of times. He knows that I do a very regular prison engagement and visiting process. And this is with men who are serving long life sentences largely for murders. And I tell them about me, and I tell them about home, and I tell them where they can send me things. And some of them send things to me at home, and some of them have my number and they ring me up. And it's a very big step, but it has built an incredible affinity over 5 years now of doing this. And these are the people that most people say you can't trust anything to them because they've broken the law, as if most of us haven't broken the law. But by building trust with those who are most despised, they learn something very precious.
And by the way, it makes you you're more effective, and you're finding it, I know, deeply fulfilling.
Yeah.
So
Deeply.
this practice we're talking about, revealing yourself, it makes you more effective, and you can do it in a way which you control, which can be much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, none of you will have energy for your career work or for your life journey if you're not doing things that are fulfilling and giving you energy. The way you get energy is to develop practices that bring to life the real person you're hoping to become, the best version of yourself.
So let me just ask you a quick question about, you talked about being authentic and authenticity.
Yeah.
And that probably has a different sense for our students and for students more generally than it may do for the four of us who are slightly older. Well, certainly I am. Then, because we all had to learn in a different way to fit into the groove of the way society was, the way the corporate world was, the way the professional world was. It's more common amongst today's student population, younger population, just to kind of wear it as it is, say it as it is. Now, we would never have quite done that. And how do you take authenticity into a generation that is more used to just bearing their soul blatantly as compared to knowing the rules of the operation of the game?
And you'd like that answer in 25 words or less?
No. Yes.
For me, it all starts with one fundamental premise, and that's honoring people. If I'm operating from a place of honoring people, I can pretty much carry on a conversation with anyone. All right. But I believe that's where I start. I start with this principle of honoring people. I then, I find that, when I think of authenticity, I think of what you see is what you get. And that's trite, but it works for me. I try and be transparent when I declare myself, when I tell people how I'm going to behave, that I'm going to be celebrating contributions of significance through these notes and I tell them what I'm going to do, and then I do it. And I say, what you see is what you get. And either you trust me or you don't. But I'm betting you will trust me because I will follow through. I have also found that when I declare myself like that, it's hard, it's like when you're doing a diet. When you're doing a diet and you don't tell anyone, it doesn't last very long. When you're doing a diet as part of a group or part of a family and everybody's weighing in once a week, it gets a little harder to cheat. So I find for me, it starts with honoring people, declaring myself, being transparent, but doing it in a way that makes me open to input from others. And then because I have the courage of my convictions, because I've done the work reflecting and studying and trying to figure out how do I want to show up using 7 habits as a metaphor for it, then I can show up and I can have a conversation with anybody about anything. But I have to have done the work beforehand, and and people have to know I am committed to honoring them and their point of view.
Thank you.
Stephen, do you have a final comment or question?
Just simply this. First of all, I personally received 3 notes from Doug, personal notes, and I wasn't even in the company, but he sent them to me as a caring person, seeing what I was doing, plus dozens of emails. But the 3 personal notes really stand out to me. The question I would ask for Doug, maybe to summarize, is this new book, The Blueprint, and the work you're doing at Conant Leadership. Tell us about how this process of the blueprint will help a student or a leader kind of identify their best self in developing their leadership approach.
Well, it's based on, a lot of people have written about this, but the challenge for a person today is we have no time. People, we're overwhelmed. We've got all these tsunamis washing over us, and we hunger to do better and to be better contributors. But how in the world can I fit it into this crazy life I have? So working over the last decade, we designed a process which is 6 steps, which is designed to nest perfectly in your cockamamie life as it exists right now. to help you lift your contribution profile to a new level. I think the insights, it's 6 steps, but the insight is you can do this with what you have where you are right now. And you can do it in a way that can help you be immediately more effective and more fulfilled. And we've really boiled it down to, I do a boot camp with people. In 2 days, we can get them started. And then I mentor them through the first year. And we create this continuous improvement loop that enables them to lift their game. It's hard today with everything coming at us. We're overwhelmed. And so we designed this book to cut through all that and to make it approachable for everyone who wants to lift their contribution profile. It was hard before, it's harder now. And we need new tools and new approaches to cut through the chaos that every one of these students is dealing with every day.
Well, thank you for your questions. And Doug, our deepest thanks to you. Your time with us has been a gift. You're a great friend of the Stephen R. Covey Leadership Center, and most importantly, a new friend to these students. And your model, the example of your life and of your leadership will serve as a beacon, an inspiration that gets right down to the practical. And so on behalf of each of us and of these students, we thank you and wish you the very best and look forward to our next time with you.
Great. I wish everybody the best of luck. I'm out of here. I got to move on. Thank you very much, guys. Get to work. Enough of this fooling around.
Thank you. This is the World's Principled Leader Series. We're so happy you could all join us.